Hi, I'm Joanne Cary. Welcome back to Embodied Soul podcast, a multidimensional space intended to support you in living, being, and thriving as the embodied soul you are. In this week's episode, I'm going to talk about what I feel is the number one practice that is often overlooked when people are on their expanded journey. And what happens when they are not mastering this technique, this practice, they end up in groundhog day, repeating the same patterns over and over again, whether it's lack, whether it's bad relationships, whether it's manifesting money and then losing it. In this episode, we're going to talk about this technique. I'm going to give you an exercise on how to begin to bring it into your awareness so that it can become your mastery as well, and you can accelerate not only the life that you're looking to create, but strengthen your connection and communication, the clarity you have with your guides and divine self, so that you can fully live as the embodied soul you came here to be. So let's jump in. So what is this main practice? It is mastering your thoughts. Now, before you get going, I know this, I know that thoughts become things. I want to just talk about the foundational principles, the foundational practices and exercises. We all want the sexy, the sleek, the new, the energy. I get it. I love it. Check out my channel. Check out the energy activations and the light language and the channeled messages. These are all wonderful. And yet we get to walk two parallel paths. We can have these excited, expanded states of energy and awareness, and we can practice in our daily lives, step by step, the foundational teachings. And this is one of them. If we do not master the thoughts that we think, the thoughts that we say to ourselves, the thoughts that we say to others, then we're going to be maintaining the same level of frequency, and we're going to be continuing to have the same level of experience that we're currently having. And so the question is, first of all, is your life completely amazing in all areas? If so, you might have already mastered your thoughts. If so, woohoo, high five. But if you haven't, if you still find yourself getting upset at external circumstances, if you still find yourself in these repeating patterns, if you still find yourself taking a number of steps forward and then seeming like you've made progress, that you've healed something, that you have moved forward, and then all of a sudden you find you're back to where you were, still having those same experiences, then you haven't mastered your thoughts yet. And here's part of the challenge. Everything is energy. And our thoughts are energy coming into concrete form. The words we say are them bringing forth into our reality. And what happens, and this is sort of refresher, and there's lots of people who teach this. Joe Dispenza is an amazing one. When we have a thought, that begins to create a neural pathway. And our perspective, how we view that thought, whether it's good, bad, or in between, it creates and releases a chemical. And that chemical then invokes an emotion. And how we experience it through an emotion of anger, of fear, of excitement and joy, that creates our experience of it. And through our experience of it, we then have more thoughts of that same quality. So if we're having fearful thoughts, we'll then have more fearful thoughts that then create more chemical to release more emotions for fear. And we end up in a spiral, continuing the same thing. So why is this important? We all have a base frequency that we came in here as soul. And through all of our experiences, those big T and little t traumas, all of those things that we have experienced have created the lens that we see our life through. And what that means is that all of those feelings, all of those thoughts have a frequency, because everything is energy. And that has adjusted, brought down, in most cases, our base vibrational frequency. And that is what is being used to draw forth to you the experiences you're having. So in practical terms, if you are not experiencing the life that you want right now, then you get to reflect on what thoughts you're thinking that are creating the experience you're having so that you can change those thoughts. And the challenge that we have is that it's been speculated that we have like 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, but only 10% of them are new thoughts, which means like 90% of the time we're going around on past experience, past expectations, past interpretations, using the same thoughts we had from the day before. So we're having the same experience. And here's the thing, often we'll do meditation in order to try to create a new experience. So we'll sit in our meditation for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. We'll focus on our connection to spirit. We will visualize the things that we are trying to create in our lives. And we've set that beautiful energy off into the world, going to call back to us that same level. But if we leave that meditation, if we leave that state, and the next thing we know, we fall back into the thoughts that we've been having for the other 90% of the time, then we revert back. And that's what we're calling in. Does this understand? Do you understand this? So if you leave your meditation space and then all of a sudden you get caught up in the news and you get caught up in judgment and you say, oh, the world is going crazy around me, I'm not safe. And those are the thoughts you're thinking all the time. That's what you're going to continue to get more of. And it hurts my heart a bit when the clients, the people that I work with, are so active in creating the life that they're looking for, but aren't mastering the foundations of catching the thoughts in the moment you're having them in order to change the experience that you're having. If you do not change anything, nothing is going to change in your life. And so this is a foundational piece. And here's the thing, you could say, well, I'm doing that. I'd say, have you done it enough that it is your new autopilot? Are you catching your thoughts like this all of the time? What I find where I'm at, what I find is that I will start saying, oh, I have to do this. And it's like, you don't have to do anything. Oh, I should do this. You don't have to, you don't should yourself. Automatically capturing when I fall back into limiting words, fall back into limiting thoughts. And I have begun feeling even the difference in those thoughts. I began asking myself when those limiting thoughts come up, the ones that are keeping us in the same pattern over and over again, you can almost begin to ask, whose voice is that? Where did that come from? Did that come from a parent? Did that come from a teacher? Did that come from a religion? Did this come from some other teaching? Because these are all based in our history. These are all based in the expectations we have. So what do we get to do about it? We get to make our thoughts the ones we want. We get to begin being more consciously creating. And is this the sexy stuff? No. But is it the very practical stuff that's going to change your life? Yeah. And then can you supplement it with the energies, with the clearings, with the activations? Yes. Yes, because that can accelerate you forward. But until you make it a practice, until your thoughts become the new autopilot, the positive thoughts become the new autopilot that are lifting you further and shifting you further, then you get to continue to consciously be aware of the thoughts that you think to change them. So your mission this week, should you choose to accept it, is to set the intention to become aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. What are the things you say when no one's listening? What are the little whispers that come in through the mind from those aspects of you that have had the traumas, that have had the bad experiences, that are expecting the bad things to happen over and over again? Set the intention to become aware of what they are. And when they come through, stop them and choose a different thought. Make it very apparent that you recognize the thought and choose a new one. Sometimes it's harder to catch our thoughts. We're so used to just living on the autopilot, right? In order to live our lives and to do all the things and to make the meetings and to pick up the kids and to make the meals, that it's sometimes challenging to actually hear the words that we're saying to ourselves. So the other approach that you can take to this is to actually pay attention to your emotions. And in particular, pay attention to the ones that don't feel so good. Pay attention to the ones that are fearful. Pay attention to the ones that are judgmental or critical of something. Pay attention to the ones that maybe make you go into the past, make you feel really sad. The ones that you don't prefer. Make a note of when you're in that emotion. And then ask yourself, what was the thought that I had before I felt this emotion? What was I doing? What was I consuming? What was I hearing? Where was I in the future or the past? Because in order to have that emotion, there must have been a chemical reaction that happened in order for you to then experience it, and that came from a thought. What were the words that you were saying at the time that then brought through that emotion that you interpreted and had that experience of? And as you do this, and as you then choose a new thought, you then will have a new experience. So this week, you get to monitor your thoughts, monitor your emotions, choose new thoughts that are more supportive, leading into the life that you are looking to lead. And I want to just point out and make sure you're fully aware that the other benefit to this, as you choose to do this walking along, choosing to recreate these neural pathways, right? Because if you think about it, when I was growing up, I lived in the country, and you would sometimes see paths across field where a farmer drove. And if you drive once, you see the grass laid down. And then after a while, you end up with 2 tire tracks. And then after a while, you end up with a full road. That's how our mind works. That's how our neural pathways are set up to work. So when you just have a thought, the neural connection is made, the chemicals released, you get the emotion. But the more that you focus on that, the higher the bigger the groove, the bigger the rut that you've created in your mind, the stronger the connection, which means the faster you can move to that state. And so right now, we have really ingrained thoughts and patterns that aren't supporting us. And so they're there, and they're like a 4-lane highway, a 6-lane highway. You can get back to that state really fast. But be gentle with yourself as you start this process, because you get to create new neural pathways, to create using the new thoughts, but it's going to take repetition. It's going to keep catching it over and over again. And this is the part that people don't want to do. This is where people stop. They say, oh, this is too difficult. I can't catch all of my thoughts. It's a choice. You can continue to think the same thoughts that you've been thinking, and you can continue to have the same experience. If you're not liking it, then that's a choice. It means that you are choosing long-term suffering for short-term gain. You're going to choose some activation. You're going to choose some other modality, some healing modality to try to fix you in the moment. You're going to get some gain perhaps, and then you're going to fall right back to it. This is why stuff isn't working, if that's been your experience, because you're not addressing the fundamental thoughts, the words that you're saying to yourself and to others, what you're consuming that is creating that experience that you don't want. Utilize them. Choose right now. Choose yourself and say, the more I choose over and over again thoughts that are supporting where I want to go, thoughts that are supporting my connection with my divine self, the easier it's going to get. And when you aren't putting focus on those other neural pathways, they will start having grass grow back up. They will grow back in, and you will have new highways. You will have new paths that you will find yourself in a new normal, of autopilot that is actually supporting you. And to my point that I was getting to is that strengthens your connection to your divinity, because we are all energy. So as you create those new neural pathways, as you continue to have thoughts that are supporting you, easier and easier as it gets on autopilot, your frequency lifts. You're able to maintain and sustain the higher level of vibrational frequency, which makes where our guides connect with us clearer and clearer. We get to have that expanded channel, that expanded connection, because they're already in the higher vibrational frequencies. And so as we lift our frequency and can maintain it, it's much easier for us to hear and for them to connect with us. And that makes it even easier, because now we are beginning to trust the information that's coming through. We're able to trust our intuition, and that accelerates us even further to become the embodied soul that we are, living, being, and thriving in this incredible time as we leap in consciousness. So I wish you all the best as you accept your mission to track your thoughts and your emotions, to choose new ones. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode of Embodied Soul. If you loved this episode of Embodied Soul, please like it, share it, turn on notifications, and subscribe to my channel. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, please follow it, share it, and leave me a 5-star review. It all helps in growing my channel and getting the messages and energy out to all those who need it at this incredible time. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you next week.